The pyramids are among the oldest and most enduring structures ever built by humans. But how do we know how old they are? The ancient pyramids of Egypt are so well known that they practically need no introduction. But while we may all be familiar with their iconic presence overlooking the Giza Plateau, it might not immediately be clear how we know just how old these structures are. After all, they were built long before the invention of writing and any form of reliable chronometer, not to mention that many of them have had their outer surfaces stripped away over the millennia, leaving behind only bare stone skeletons. So how exactly did archaeologists and historians figure out the ages of these ancient wonders? Well, it actually takes a multi-pronged approach that combines scientific analysis with historical contextualization. Let's start with the former. Over the years, various organic materials have been discovered at pyramid sites and in associated artifacts, things like wood, bone, leather, and textiles. And these can all be dated using the scientific technique known as radiocarbon dating or carbon dating. This method is based on the predictable decay rate of radioactive isotopes and can be used to determine the age of organic materials up to about 50,000 years old. For example, a 2017 study published in the Journal of Archaeological Science used this technique to analyze 31 pieces of wood from the Giza Plateau and help establish a relative chronology for the construction of the three main pyramids there. By comparing the results to a database of other regionally and historically proximate samples, researchers were able to estimate that the Great Pyramid of Giza was built between 25,800 and 25,000 years ago. That's much older than the traditional and widely accepted date of around 4,550 years ago. But other dating methods used on other materials from other pyramids have produced different results. For instance, a 2008 study published in the journal Antiquity analyzed 20 samples of wood charcoal from the Red Pyramid and found that most of them fell between the years 2680 and 2180 BCE, with one cluster of samples pointing to a date of around 2490 BCE. This discrepancy between different dating results is actually to be expected, as it means that different parts of the pyramid were built over a longer period of time, which is also supported by historical records, which we'll talk about next. Ancient Egyptian architecture developed over many centuries and followed a more or less linear progression. Each new building project tended to follow the style of its predecessor, and this makes it relatively easy to slot the pyramids into a historical sequence. When Flinders Petrie began his excavations at Giza in the 1880s, he uncovered a small chapel near the Sphinx that contained inscribed stone tablets detailing the reign of the pharaoh Khafra. By comparing the architectural features of this chapel with those of other buildings whose dates were already well established, Petrie was able to conclude that the work was probably carried out during the 4th dynasty, placing the construction of the second pyramid at around 2550 BC. The third pyramid was thought to have been built by the next pharaoh in the sequence, but the evidence for this is less straightforward. There are two main candidates, either Menkaure or his successor, and the debate is far from settled. And finally, there's another piece of evidence that can be used to try to date the pyramids: their astronomical alignments. It's well known that the Egyptians carefully aligned their structures with the cardinal directions and various stars, and this has led some researchers to suggest that the pyramids were built to coincide with specific astronomical events. If true, this could help establish a precise date for their construction. In 2015, researchers argued that the Great Pyramid was built to align with the North Star, which would place its construction between 2500 and 19,500 years ago. But other scholars have disputed these findings, pointing out that the alleged misalignment could be explained by a simple shift in the Earth's axis. And indeed, more recent studies have shown that the accuracy of such astronomical alignments can be greatly exaggerated due to later erosion and the shifting of the sands. So ultimately, determining the age of the pyramids requires a multi-pronged approach. By combining the results of different dating methods with historical contextualization and astronomical analysis, scholars have been able to construct a fairly accurate picture of just how old these iconic structures really are. Thanks for watching.